You're tuned in to the Behind the Ears podcast with Uncle Danny and Mr. Chris, because everybody does Disney differently. The Behind the Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. Expedition Roasters is the artisanal roaster of specialty Disney-inspired coffees. Why not brew some of the magic at your home? Some of our coffees include Skipper's Brew, Ghoulish Delight, Enchanted Tiki Coconut, Redhead Rum, and many other unique roasts. Our coffees are certified gluten and allergen-free and feature unique custom artwork by guest artists. Expedition Roasters offers an adventure in every bag. So start your adventure today by visiting us online at expeditionroasters.com. That's expeditionroasters.com. And Behind Ears listeners, be sure to take advantage of this exclusive offer and save 20% on your first purchase with code EARS20. That's EARS20 at expeditionroasters.com. Brew your happy place. Do you have a little one and don't want to bring your stroller from home? Have you destroyed a stroller in the past from all the wear and tear from a Disney vacation? Well, Kingdom Strollers is a great place to rent a great quality stroller at a reasonable price. Kingdom Strollers is a Disney-featured stroller provider, which means they will deliver it right to your resort, even if you're not there. Same thing for picking it up at the end of your trip. So if you're in need of an affordable stroller rental during your next Orlando trip, consider renting from a Disney-trusted stroller company. Visit kingdomstrollers.com for more information.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Ears podcast. I'm Uncle Danny, the man in the blue, the man with the pin. That is Mr. Chris. Sir, how are you doing on this fine evening?
I am doing absolutely wonderful. It's been an absolutely wonderful day. I took the day off from work today so I can go to the Museum of Science and Industry, downtown Chicago, one of my favorite places to go outside of Walt Disney World, where we saw some really cool sciencey stuff. I just absolutely love it. I actually got to make my own monster on a 3D printer today, and it was really, really cool. I tried to make him look a little like Mike Wazowski. That failed miserably, but that's okay. He's my own little green monster. Unfortunately, I don't have him here. You have your little green alien, though. Well, he's not really that little anymore, is he? Did he grow up?
No, he grew. He grew up. Unlike the Rugrats, my characters in my world actually grow up. Sorry, bro. Those 90 kids got my reference.
Dude. That's pretty crazy. Well, man, we've got a really good show, and actually the interesting part of this is that it was inspired by one of our listeners, one of our friends over at the WDW community page, and we are actually going to get into a little bit of March Madness action. You may have seen it float around, ladies and gentlemen, a Disney Pixar throwdown bracket, and Danny and I basically said this would make a really cool conversation. As you know, is that we enjoy our movies, and I'm a little bit more of a movie buff than Danny is, but Danny has his fair share of good movie experiences and so on. I'm still rubbing him rubbing him in such a way that doesn't sound right at all. That's just better. I was
Get God for the edit button later.
Oh crap.
That's staying in.
Oh, crap. I'm trying to influence Danny. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. I'm just really sorry. Every once in a while, it's just... And you know what? I hope if you're listening to Twisted Our podcast...
It hurts so bad. Oh,
I'm not editing this out because I hope everybody who listens to this just laughs at me. I think, oh gosh, I got tears in my eyes because I just think it's worthwhile. We finally got our podcast feed up and going, and I'm really excited about it. Danny, you have been doing a great job trying to get our backlogged shows going. I just want to say thank you for everybody's patience. Consider this my gift of laughter to you. Anyway, I'm trying to influence Danny on his, more along the lines of movie picks and, what he should be watching instead of the Rugrats on Netflix or whatever. But so, oh crap, we just needed to go to it. Let's talk about our bracket. And basically some of the rules are going to be, we talked a little bit about some of the rules. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through our bracket, and we're going to just basically briefly explain why we think in this pairing. And by the way, we did not make the first pairing, the first pick pairings. We didn't do that. That was already a part of this graphic. But we went and started there. We're going to explain why we picked what we picked out of each part of the bracket. And, we may even comment on each other's choices and this, that, and the other. There's really no real justification as to why we picked certain choices from the bracket. We could have done whatever we wanted, and we know that some people may or may not agree with us, and that's fine. This is cool. That's why we have these fun brackets. At the very end, we're obviously going to have the last two to go up against each other. And what we're going to do is that we're going to put a quick poll out on the WDW community page, as by no later than Wednesday, and we'll let everybody choose, and we will announce the winner as chosen by our listeners and by our those who participate over at the WDW community page. They will pick the winner, and I think this is going to be really cool, and I'm really excited about this. So, Danny, I've got the left side. You've got the right side. I think that if nothing else, I should go first, at least for the first pair.
First, sure thing. I'm cool with that.
Okay. So, the first pairing is the Lion King versus Tarzan. Now, let's face it. I think some of the best things about these two movies is the music and the songs. But it's very hard to pick, one out of this two, because you have Tarzan, which had a soundtrack by Phil Collins. The Lion King, you had a soundtrack that was phenomenal. It also had, Elton John as a part of, the main song. Just absolutely fabulous. But when it comes to overall winning power in this pair, I didn't even give it a second thought. Lion King all the way. I think that between the storyline and the rewatchability of that movie was absolutely phenomenal. I love Tarzan. It was really good, but I think I watched Tarzan because of the music more than I do the overall story.
The funny thing is I know for the show we want to get into depth with it a little bit, and not that I did not appreciate Tarzan, but the minute I saw it, I felt bad for Tarzan because, in my opinion, Lion King's got to go deep on that side of the bracket. So I didn't even, when I saw this, I was like, doesn't matter. Literally, you could have thrown up almost any movie against Lion King, and I was like, it's going to be Lion King. I mean, everybody seems to agree. Tracy is the only person to actually come out and say Tarzan. Says, we do apologize, Tracy, but Tarzan is eliminated after round one. Okay. So we're going to go over to my side.
Right.
And my first up is Up versus Brave.
Gotta get a pen.
The movie Up versus Brave.
Okay, Up versus Brave.
Here's a simple thing. Up might be a modern Marvel. We'll use that term. Up was a fantastic movie with many, many life lessons. Cherish your loved ones, and learn when you get older, and even whenever. Just enjoy life, even when everything is going against you the wrong way. Right. Now, Brave was a solid movie. Don't get me wrong. But just like Lion King versus Tarzan, I have no problem saying Up wins by leaps and bounds. I'm not even going to question it.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. If I had your side, I would have easily chosen Up as well. I think the animation was absolutely fabulous. The storyline was great. It was completely relatable. You can't beat Doug. It's one of those things.
Doug's fantastic.
Yeah, Doug was just absolutely fabulous. Brave. I will tell you this though. I loved the music in Brave. I actually own the soundtrack for Brave. I thought the animation for that was absolutely wonderful and beautiful. I mean, the way that they animated Merida's hair down to the individual hair was just absolutely fabulous. I don't think you could actually compare the two from an animation perspective, so you have to go on everything else.
Surprisingly, you had a more solid response with everybody agreeing with you. I had 3 people go against me and go Brave. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I am the judge, the juror, and I've decided that Brave is done. Okay. So, Chris, back to you.
Okay. So the next one was actually The Princess and the Frog versus Lilo and Stitch. And man, oh man, this was a tough one, because I also know that The Princess and the Frog happens to be one of my daughter's, one of her I can't talk tonight. It's one of my daughter's favorite movies. And I think it's got it all. I mean, it's one of the last hand animated movies. And the soundtrack is absolutely fabulous. It's got a great storyline to it. It's a little bit different. It's got a lot of influence around the parks, especially if you think about, let me rephrase that. There are components of its influence, like within Port Orleans French Quarter, even on Disney Cruise Lines and so on. But Lilo and Stitch, I thought the movie was absolutely great. I'm not a big Stitch fan of itself, right? I mean, it's seeing Stitch as a character. I'm not going to stand in line to see Stitch as a character. I certainly did not like Stitch's Great Escape. But Stitch as, Stitch as Lilo and Stitch was great. What was that?
I said like Alien Encounter, basically.
Yeah. So, but the thing of it is that it has a lot of staying power. I mean, Lilo and Stitch has been around for quite some time. It's got a great following. So Lilo and Stitch actually moves up the bit over Princess and the Frog, and that was a real tough decision. I hope my daughter doesn't call me up tomorrow and say, "What the heck, Dad?" But I just think that overall Lilo and Stitch is a good, solid contender.
Yeah, Princess and the Frog was a solid movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the first ethnic princess technically, because you can't really count Pocahontas.
Why couldn't you count Pocahontas?
Was she really considered a princess though?
Yes, I think.
Oh, she was? Maybe? I never would have put her in the category of a princess. But you know what I mean? Okay, so, excluding however you want to label Pocahontas, she was your first, she was almost a barrier breaker, for, the culture inside of Disney princesses. So, that held a candle. But, Lilo and Stitch, man, I don't want to say they broke barriers, because they didn't, but it was just a great movie. When you could have a dominant character like Stitch, who's so relevant today and literally have no proper English. Like that sentence was no proper English.
I mean, the thing of it is that, Lilo and Stitch has a lot of staying power. I mean, it is a very recognizable movie. I think that's right. Lilo and Stitch made Stitch, who Stitch is, as popular, as popular as it is. But, the thing is that I think that Princess and the Frog brought about some really good characters and this, that, and the other. It has nothing to do with the quality of the movie itself. But I watched it not too long ago, and the cool part about it is that I love the hand-drawn animation. I really do. Yeah. I mean, there's something about the rawness of the hand-drawn animation that I fall in love with, and it's still a fabulous movie. So I like to watch both of those. So what about you for your second round? And I think this is going to be a tough one.
I think this is the most loaded bracket you could ever think of on my side. And I think this might be the hardest and easiest all in the same notion. I've got Toy Story up against Toy Story 2. So if you're new to the show, welcome. You don't realize my fascination with Toy Story yet. If you are well versed in our show, and you know who I am, you kind of already know where my bracket's going. But this is a tough one. Toy Story, let's be honest, Toy Story made Pixar.
Yep.
Hands down. I mean, you can't argue. They put Pixar on the map.
They did. There's no doubt in my mind where this is going.
Toy Story 2 at the same time was, please God, don't make a remake that stinks. Please do not make a remake that stinks. And as it didn't stink, it still was not good as the original.
It was a tough second act. Let's face it. I mean,
it was tough. How do you come back from that?
I mean, Disney has had some real challenges lately because when they bring out a second movie, everybody judges it against the first. Mm-hmm. And, you take like Monsters Inc. and Monsters University. I mean, it's almost like there's a reason why they did Monsters University as a prequel, just because they know that Monsters Inc. itself would have a very difficult time doing, a sequel instead of a prequel. So, but I know where this is going.
I am going to go with the original because you can't go wrong with an original. I am going with the movie that essentially made Pixar and has, springboarded it into the present day filmmakers that they are. So my vote, Toy Story advances. Toy Story 2, go hang out with the crazy toys. You're done. You're done. Go home. So after round 1 in the first bracket, Chris will have The Lion King going against Lilo and Stitch, and I will have Up versus Toy Story. So let's now move to the second part of the bracket. Chris, you are up.
Okay. So the next 2 movies up for bid would be Tangled against Big Hero 6. First off, I don't think this is a fair pairing. I'm just going to tell you this right now. This is nowhere near a fair pairing. Tangled. One of my favorite movies. Okay. I know, granted, there's very few movies in this whole entire list that you could say I don't enjoy. There is one on this list that I've seen parts of it. I never really fell in love with it. It never really passed the Chris's 15-minute test. You'll get to that in a minute. Tangled's a cool movie. Okay. I think it was extraordinarily well done. I think it kind of teaches, a few lessons in there. Again, animation, soundtrack, storyline, characters, all very strong. Big Hero 6. I love Baymax. I am a huge Big Hero 6 fan. I will sit back and I will watch Big Hero 6. Heaven forbid it comes on TV, because that means I'm going to have 2 hours of my life that's just gone. Okay,
I'll never get it back.
I'll never get it back. I'll watch it I'll be like, but I've got this. What? I mean, it's just one of those things, and I'll do it every single time. So, because Big Hero 6 to me is suspense. It's a really good storyline. There is a lesson to be learned there. The animation is, modern day top notch. I just think that it's just really super, super cool, and it was very touching all the way up to the end. So without further ado, Big Hero 6 wins this particular pairing, but I will say this, a nod to Tangled. I don't think that this was a fair pairing, whoever made this up, but in my opinion, Big Hero 6 wins this one.
Not only does Tangled only have a themed bathroom, but Mr. Chris bumps it out on the first round. Whew, that's a tough one.
Well, seriously, okay, I'm sorry. The Rapunzel potties, as I think they're very lovingly called. It's well themed. The thing of it is that it's really actually a shame that Tangled, out of everything, has a bathroom. Now, you could also say this: it's the only bathroom that has a theme like that, but it deserves more. I'll give that. But still, and for the purpose of the bracket, Big Hero 6 comes out on top.
Okay. I don't really have much of an argument with it. I think that really could have honestly gone either way.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to be a tough one because I've only seen one of these movies. Mm-hmm. So my next up is Coco, and I believe is that Cars 3? I can't really see it. I think it says Cars 3. Right?
No,
I think it's Cars
3.
Right? Could be a 2.
Give me
really
one
looks
second.
like a 3.
I have to look. Now you're going to make me come over here
It's so small on my screen.
To the back computer. No, it is Cars 2.
It's 2?
It is Cars 2. I'm gonna go ahead and increase.
Okay. Okay. Well, that makes this decision a lot easier then, because I've only seen about 25 minutes of Coco. So this is Cars 2. Oh, God. Coco, you survived by the skin of your teeth, Coco. I want you to understand this. If it was Cars 3, you were losing. Cars 3 was advancing. Cars 3 was a modern, I'm going to say modern marvel a lot, I guess. It was a fantastic animated movie. But Cars 2 was an absolute car wreck. Oh, I was gonna say train, but I was like, "Ooh, that doesn't
break out that rim shot."
Yeah, so like I said, I've only seen about 25 minutes of Coco. I love what I've seen so far. I had to run out, so I wasn't able to catch the rest of it. But it goes to show you that 25 minutes of a movie goes to show you how much I disliked Cars 2. So Coco, you kind of win on default here, but Coco's going to advance for me.
I would not disagree one bit with that. I mean, I liked Cars 2, and it was a very difficult second act, so to speak. Coco was a very emotional film for me. A lot of different parts of it was very emotional for me. I loved it, and it was just absolutely fabulous when it comes from as an animated movie. The music in it of that type was just absolutely stunning. Cars 2... you know what? Mater is a sidekick. And to have a movie that focused a lot more on Mater than Lightning McQueen was a mistake, in my opinion. I mean, it did not ruin the franchise because, you know, Cars, the first one, is so strong. Which I think was also very well redeemed in Cars 3, in my opinion. There are people that disagree with me about Cars 3, but I think that if you do Toy Story, or excuse me, I looked at Toy Story. If you do Cars and then do Cars 3, you'd be like, okay, I'm satisfied. So, you know, that sort of thing.
Needed Cars, and this is to go off tangent for one quick second.
Mm-hmm.
Cars, the franchise, needed Cars 3. Because of, in my opinion, the major letdown that Cars 2 was, not to bury Cars 1 into oblivion and never hear from it again. You needed a solid rebound, and I think you got that out of Cars 3. But let's move on over. You have a very interesting setup here.
Yeah, this is going to be tough, but also easy at the same time. And I'm the one that's stuck with it because people are going to lynch me for this one, I think. Frozen versus Moana. This of all the pickings here, I had to think about this one the most. I will admit I loved Frozen. I am still a fan of the movie. I think the movie is beautiful, stunning, visually awesome. The music in it cannot be beat. I mean, it's just, I owned a soundtrack for this one too. I loved it, you know, and it's still a, you know, there's still a love it or hate it relationship among many people in the Disney community in itself, because of, you know, it's been very much commercialized, but dude, it's made like something like $1.2 billion worldwide. You cannot argue with results like that. That is just a gargantuan amount of cabbage. Against Moana, which, I'll be honest with you, I loved Moana. That movie is just so cool. I mean, the soundtrack, the songs, the story behind it. I mean, come on. How many people don't, you know, when everybody says thank you, you just want to be like Maui and go, "You're welcome." I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, you just got to do it. I think it's a great movie. I think we're going to see more of Moana later down the road and in some kind of storyline here and there. And I think Disney really needs to, you know, bring the intellectual property of Moana more into the parks and meet and greets and so on and so forth. So, Frozen wins this one. Good night, everybody.
Let it go, Chris. Jeez, let Frozen go to bed. You are gonna have the masses. People, get your pitchforks, get your bales of hay, light them on fire.
Listen,
we need to protest this.
Okay, listen. $1.2 billion
Gone with the Wind
wrong.
made, and with inflation, all that money, and we're really gonna say that it's the best movie ever made?
No, I just the thing of it is that I think that between the two, it was so tough. It was so tough. But the fact of the matter is that because Frozen still has so much popularity, if this bracket happened 3 years from now, I think Moana would win it. But the fact of the matter is I think that the overall fandom of Frozen is still very, very much alive. There's not all these decisions are based off of pure logic and reason. Some of these are based upon, you got to look at the facts, and you got to look at the idea of what's going on with it.
1.2 billion or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Just saying. But anyway,
now you do it.
I won't let you all down with it. Now, this is a tough one. I forgot about this one. So next up for me is Toy Story 3 and The Good Dinosaur.
No, that's actually a kind of a tough pairing. I want to hear you.
It's tougher than you think.
Yeah.
Because, The Good Dinosaur, childhood memories, man. Solid movie. Solid movie. But once again, I think Toy Story 3 is not. I'm going to use the whole series of Toy Story like I was doing with Cars, where not that Toy Story 2 was a letdown like Cars 2 was, but I think because of the years in separation from these movies, Toy Story 3 really needed to come out and gain a whole new following. And I think not only has it done it, but you've seen the masses of children inside the parks now, starting to ramp back up. You're seeing more Woody, more Buzz, you're seeing more of these characters come out and, in full fledged. And you also were able to pull on the heartstrings of the early 90s kids like myself,
right,
who grew up with Toy Story being, better than sliced white bread. Mm-hmm. So as an adult being able to hit you like that, as much as I enjoyed The Good Dinosaur, I am going to say Toy Story 3 is going to take it here.
Let's put it this way. Yeah. You're. I have to agree with your choice on that. I mean, I cried at the end of Toy Story 3.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a sad movie, man.
I mean, it was a touching movie.
I'm curious to see how they follow that up, though.
You know what? You talk about an act that is going to be very tough to beat. I mean, they're going to have to come up with a storyline that is just out of left field in order to really make people say, "Oh yeah." So yeah, There you go.
So as we look on for the next bracket, so once again, Chris had Lion King beating Tarzan and Lilo and Stitch beating Princess and the Frog. So the next round will be the Lion King versus Lilo and Stitch. He had Big Hero 6 beating Tangled. And unfortunately, he had Frozen beating Moana. So in that round, he will have Big Hero 6 versus Frozen. Mm-hmm. Over in my side of the bracket, I had Up versus Brave, with Up advancing, Toy Story against Toy Story 2, Toy Story advancing. So my next round will have Up versus Toy Story. I had Coco beating Cars 2 and Toy Story 3 beating The Good Dinosaur. So that round will be Coco versus Toy Story 3. So we move into the bottom half of our brackets now. Chris, take it away.
All right. I don't think this was a very difficult one, if you ask me. For some, it might be. Aladdin versus Hercules. And you know what? Hercules was really cool, but to be very honest, it's not one that I would watch over and over again. Still a very good movie. Not really my favorite. I have the movie. I've watched it a couple times. The music in it's really good. It's really fun. But Aladdin, seriously, come on. Robin Williams is Genie. Need I say more? I mean, Robin Williams made that movie what it is. Okay, it's plain and simple.
God, yeah.
Okay, when they tried to do the sequel to Aladdin, a direct-to-video, and they did not have Robin Williams there, it totally, completely flopped. There's a reason why, because Aladdin was Genie. Robin Williams was Genie. It's as simple as that. And I think the music in it, I mean, seriously, beautiful, beautiful movie, beautiful film, beautiful music, and you got the Genie. No doubt, Aladdin moves up.
Yeah, as much as I like the devilishly handsome line from Hercules, Aladdin has potential in this bracket to go kind of deep, if you ask me. And Aladdin, yeah, that was kind of honestly a straight up slam dunk. As much as I enjoyed Hercules, if you gave me the choice of watching Aladdin or Hercules, I'm gonna put on Aladdin, just personal preference. Mm-hmm. And I also truly believe, and I know there's gonna be a few of our listeners that are not gonna agree with this next one. I think I honestly had a slam dunk myself. I have Ratatouille going against A Bug's Life, and as informative as A Bug's Life is, and for what it did technological wise, with the animation back when it came out, I think Ratatouille wins by a hand.
Really? No, I'm a little surprised at this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, Ratatouille just, how do I put this into terms? It took the idea of a nasty rat inside a kitchen and put that Disney spin on it to not only be accepting of, you know what it is? To me, did it have a hitting meaning like, don't judge a book by its cover just because it's a rat in a kitchen? Let's not freak out. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I took it to a level it didn't have to be set to, but that's the way I took it. Ratatouille, and I think Ratatouille needs to be more involved. I know they're finally getting the ride over in France and Epcot, but Ratatouille, I mean, Bug's Life has a great ride. I still enjoy it, but Ratatouille, to me, that was a landslide. That was probably one of the easiest picks I had all night.
Okay, I'll give you that. I mean, I'm actually a little surprised, only because Bug's Life is such a, it's an icon. It's iconic, especially within Animal Kingdom. But I cannot disagree with your comments about Ratatouille. Fabulous movie. Loved it. I mean, it was just really fun. I mean, and the thing is, it was animated in such a way where, you really got into the action scenes, and I think that made a big difference. I mean, it's really hard to get the perspective of a human chasing after a mouse. And I just think from a technical perspective from the artwork, it was really hard. They did an excellent job. I can't disagree with your choice.
I mean, Carol summed it up for the best sentence of all night for me and you. Ratatouille is about food. We love food. Exactly.
No, yeah, and the thing is, have you ever had the dish Ratatouille?
I don't think so.
No, it's a vegetarian dish. And the funny part about it is the first time I ever had it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is delicious.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
It was really, really good. So anyway, I had to throw. Okay. So for those of you that know me very well, you're going to basically know where this one's going to go. But I have The Little Mermaid versus Pocahontas. Now, let me just go ahead and say, I think Pocahontas is one of those movies where I really enjoyed, but unfortunately it also came up under a lot of, like, my mom. Funny part is my mom and I got into arguments over Pocahontas, which is really kind of funny because, my mom and I didn't necessarily go out to movies all that often. But it was kind of funny because she's like, it didn't really happen that way, the type of thing. Yeah, thanks, Mom. I really appreciate that. But the fact of the matter is that Pocahontas was a great movie. I mean, it was a wonderful soundtrack, and I thought it was really nice. It was really good, a really good movie. I mean, it has some staying power. I mean, if you think about it, Pocahontas has reference within Phantasmic, and there's a whole bunch of other. There used to be Pocahontas and her Animal Friends show over at the Animal Kingdom. That's been gone for a while now. But the thing is that, she was synonymous with nature, the woods, forest, I should say, and everything. And it was really, really good. And the problem of it is that someone has said, and these are not my words, this is not my observation, that, she was also, someone has once said that she was designed to be a very attractive cartoon character.
Yeah,
okay.
She was.
But then she goes up against Ariel and the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Now, I find there's some irony in there, to be honest with you. But the thing is, I fell in love with the Little Mermaid when it first came out a long time ago. And I think what it is about the Little Mermaid is that it is my favorite movie out of all of this, to be honest with you. Mainly because I think the music and the storyline, really do it for me. And what's really kind of difficult is that as I grow older, I relate so much to King Triton at times. Doesn't want his daughter to grow up. Yeah, it really can be kind of tough being a dad of someone who's, found the love of their life, so to speak. So basically, it has some staying power. I loved it back then because it was a great animated film. And now I really can actually understand it more as an adult with my own kids and family. Yeah, it's pretty funny. No surprise there. The Little Mermaid.
No, honestly, man, you hit on so many good points. Pocahontas was a solid movie. It was, I think I would have, I think I could have seen Pocahontas moving up if you had just switched brackets with either, going as Mulan or Hercules in that aspect, if you ask me. But I mean, it literally got put against a heavy hitter in Little Mermaid.
I mean, and I think that's kind of funny because, whoever made this bracket, they knew that they had to put some real difficult choices in here. So I have to say, you mix this around, the choices would be totally different.
Absolutely.
So there you go. Well, now you've got another interesting choice, to be honest with you.
This is so tough. All right, so I've got Finding Nemo, the first one, obviously, and Inside Out. And everybody knows that I'm a huge proponent to getting Inside Out into the parks and possibly its own land. Inside Out, they took concepts that we've all thought about and they took actual everyday situations, all the emotions you could possibly feel, and made a movie about it and did a bang up job. And let's not discount all the Easter eggs inside that movie, from Pixar, going back to Toy Story with the ball. And there's so many, like, anything that pulls on my heartstrings of Toy Story, I'm all about.
Yeah.
Now, Finding Nemo is a phenomenal movie. Phenomenal. I was not as big as fan as, Finding Dory, but Finding Nemo was, you don't have Nemo without Dory. And it's going to sound crazy because as much as I loved Inside Out, the difference here is the seagulls. Mine. I mean, literally, you have a character from a movie that says one word and they have luggage tags inside Disney. I mean, people go crazy for their luggage tags, their shirts, their jackets, and I needed something to differentiate between the two movies, and this was a really, really tough one, but Finding Nemo is going to have to get the vote.
There's something to be said about the technical breakthrough of some of the movies that were back from 10, 15, nearly 20 years ago. The reason why I say it like that is because, when the opening scenes of Finding Nemo came out, they were so realistic at that time for animation. It scared little kids.
Really?
I mean, it was one of those things. And the thing is, they didn't necessarily intended it to be that way. But nowadays, I think we're a little bit more, I don't want to say desensitized by great animation, but I think back then we were so surprised about how great the animation was with Finding Nemo that, it was very realistic. So there was something to be said about the technical aspect of it. And, it has such a touching storyline. It's got a storyline that I think both kids and parents could really relate to. It was a box office smash. I totally get it. Inside Out. I think it's a good movie for a lot of other reasons, because I think you're right. I think they did a bang up job at taking something that was so complex as the human mind and try to put it in a form that was entertaining, yet just a little bit informative at the same time. And I think there's a lot of people that said, you know what? I can relate to that, especially at the end. And the funny part is, it wasn't until the third time I watched that movie that the ending part of it really snapped with me. Just because I finally figured something out. Maybe I was spacing out during one time, but that third time I saw it, I was like, that's it. I totally get this movie from beginning to end, and I can see the significance of it.
Well, Nemo, just keep on swimming. You're advancing to the next round.
I could agree with that. All right, so for my next one, Mulan versus Zootopia.
Easy peasy.
Oh my gosh! I mean, now Mulan, great movie. I enjoyed it. I really did. I really enjoyed Mulan. I think it was very, very well done. It still has a lot of songs that I think we find to be very catchy. I think it was one of those. It actually was one of the. The song "True to Your Heart" was one of the first songs I've ever seen an animated movie have a video off of, music video from. I think Ming Na did a great job as Mulan. But Zootopia, let's go ahead and face it, ladies and gentlemen. Zootopia was a dang good movie. And I have to say it right now. Zootopia is going forward on this one. Because I mean, it was a darn stinking good movie. And the thing is, it was a movie that, quite honestly, I believed had a storyline that was more relevant, I'll say today, but more so to the point of more relevant to the age that it was released in, that inspired people. You know what? I think that makes a difference between the two of these. Don't get me wrong, Mulan, there's a great storyline and a great story to be told there, and a great lesson to be learned. But I think in this day and age, when we have so many people that want to accomplish their dreams, but they feel like they have so many obstacles in the way, let's face it, Judy Hopps kind of nailed it. Go ahead and top in some music by Shakira. What can go wrong, man? I mean, seriously. Great flick. One of my favorites. Again, another one of those movies. I hear Try Everything come on. I'm like, what? So, Mulan. Or, I'm sorry, not Mulan. I'm sorry, Zootopia, go up.
I'm going to agree with you. Love him. If you don't at every point of your day ever look at somebody and be like, did you voice that movie? You are not living, people. Zootopia, I am so glad. I was a little afraid on where you were gonna go with that one, and I'm really happy that you went the way I was hoping
for. Yeah, and at the same time, it's really kind of funny because, let's face it, this world doesn't have any really good jokes about the DMV. Now you do. And so, it is such a good movie.
Okay, so I feel like I've been getting hammered on my side over here. I've got Monsters, Inc. versus the original Cars.
Oh, man. Dude, don't screw this up, Danny. I mean, seriously.
I know. Okay, so Cars was a fantastic movie. And I truly, in my heart of heart, believe that Cars helped lift Pixar. It was stagnant for a little while, and I think Cars really helped bump up to the next level. Monsters Inc. was a right off the bat classic movie. I could still watch Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc.'s Laugh Floor is still one of my go-to rides. Can't say favorite, but definitely a go-to ride. Absolutely hilarious. Mike Wazowski. How it's such a great movie, but I'm gonna have to go with the sole fact that Cars, I think, lifted Pixar to the next level when it was staying stagnant, and I'm gonna go with Cars is literally going to win by a bumper here and beat out Monsters Inc.
I didn't think you were going to go that way. I really thought that you were going to go by way of Monsters Inc. To be honest with you,
you know the only biggest reason why I didn't go with Monsters Inc. and it's sad that I had to do it this way. How bad the university was. The next one, what was Monsters Inc.?
It's the prequel. It's Monsters University. You didn't like that?
No, really? It was so bad that it kind of hurt the first one a little bit.
I see. I actually really enjoyed it. But maybe it's because also I had, I'm not going to say similar challenges in college, but I had some challenges in college. My first attempt at college. So there was a lot of things I was actually really relating to, especially, Mike and Sully were having to work their way from the bottom up in order to get where they're at today. But that's for a whole different show. I could still respect Cars. I mean, Cars, I've said it before, I said it again. It's one of the few movies I've ever seen more than once in the theaters. I've seen that one like 5 times in the theaters. So I love Cars. Seriously, give me some Lightning McQueen any day.
And that's the thing is, it's so funny that me and you were hitting on all cylinders in the beginning of the show with everybody agreeing with what we were going with. And me and you just went against the masses in the past 5 minutes with our votes. Yeah. People are not happy with the
and the funny part about it is that for my side, my last choice of the first bracket, people are going to probably really yell at me here.
Oh my God, I'm getting killed over here.
Yeah, you're really getting slammed in the comments section here, but
sorry.
No, don't change it. I think
I'm not.
But so here's the deal: Beauty and the Beast versus The Nightmare Before Christmas. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be honest with you. These two movies can't be compared with one another because I think that they are entirely different genres of movie, and I'm not a Tim Burton fan.
I was waiting for that to come out.
I'm just not. And I know there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that are fans of Nightmare Before Christmas. I get it. It's just for me. I'm just not. I just couldn't really get into it. And again, maybe it's because I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. Maybe I'm not a fan of that form of animation. Beauty and the Beast. Let's face it. Beauty and the Beast broke a lot of barriers when it came out. I mean, not was it only one of the first movies that combined hand-drawn animation with computer animation, but had award-winning songs that we still hear today. People still flock to see Beauty and the Beast as a stage show. The remake of it was even, some people didn't like it. I really liked it, but the fact of the matter is that the story is still really good. Belle was an absolutely beautiful character. The Beast learned some lessons in the process. It just overall, and I hate to say this, Beauty and the Beast wins because I don't like Nightmare Before Christmas. That's really what it comes down to.
Fair enough. See, now Beauty and the Beast, I love Tim Burton. I love The Nightmare Before Christmas. But this was the minute I saw that you picked that left side and I looked down on your side, I'm like, well, I'm sorry, Tim Burton, you're not even advanced. You're not even getting looked at this point. I still would have agreed with you, and it's more of a family aspect because when my parents got divorced, at times I had to go with my mom to work during the summertime because there was no one home to watch me. So my mom used to work for Coldwell Banker at the time, and they had like a little play area for kids that when their parents were trying to buy houses, well, I would get stuck in there for a few hours. And they didn't have a lot of movies, but they always had Disney movies. And if you're in there for 4 or 5 hours at times, you're coloring, doing whatever you're doing, but I always would put a movie on. And I always started my day with watching Beauty and the Beast. There was a point I could recite half that movie, no questions asked. So It will always hold that sentimental place in my heart. As much as I wish they did not make the live version of it, I am very happy that you went with Beauty and the Beast.
Cool. Now,
all right, so me.
For you, not to cut to the chase. I think you have a slam dunk on this one.
Yeah, I'm not going the way you want me to go. I promise you that right now. I'll be shocked if you think I'm going I think you read me wrong here. Okay. So I've got The Incredibles versus WALL-E. Okay, so first off, I am not an Incredibles fan at all.
What?
I thought it was not a very good movie, if you ask me. Not a fan of The Incredibles at all. So I knew this one was going to hurt Chris. So I'm so happy it was in the back end. And I've literally said on this show a million times that I think WALL-E is a fantastic movie for a robot where there's like no speaking in the entire movie. I literally thought for the longest time that something was wrong with the DVD when I first put it on. I thought there was captions on and someone muted it. But WALL-E is literally deals with what we're going on with in the world right now. I mean, obesity being what it is, and you're seeing everybody in scooters all the time, and the amount of garbage that's just being collected. It just was so, and The Incredibles was The Incredibles. It was, if you like that movie, great. But WALL-E hit the hard points that nobody else wanted to talk about.
Okay. I could definitely respect your reasons. I like WALL-E as a movie. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was really cool. I mean, granted, you're right. For the longest period of time, it kind of mimicked Castaway, is a movie that had like almost no dialogue in it for the first 45 minutes. But it's still really good. I am a big Incredibles fan. I mean, seriously, I really am. But I can respect your points on WALL-E. I mean, if you didn't like The Incredibles, I totally get it. But WALL-E wasn't shabby. I mean, if you think about it, it was
hard hitting.
It was very hard hitting. I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of, even back when it came out, there's a lot of social commentary in that movie. I mean, we are the by and large society. It's one of those things. So I totally get it. Well,
okay, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I think because we have just a little bit of time left, we could probably just
move through this without giving long discussions.
Yeah. So let me just go ahead and give my next. I'm just gonna go right down my list, and I'm just gonna give a brief summary, and you can comment accordingly on each one. Lion King versus Lilo and Stitch. I went with Lion King. Lion King is more of a classic in my opinion, and that was my reasoning for that. Thoughts on that, Danny?
No, if you didn't, we were ending the broadcast.
Yeah. So Big Hero 6 versus Frozen. A real tough call. Really seriously tough call. There were many factors involved. I had to go with Frozen to move on to the next level because it is so big and it had such a big stance for it. It was a tough call. I mean, I love me some Big Hero 6. I think Frozen, I hated to see Big Hero 6 get knocked out. Frozen went with that one. The next one, Aladdin versus The Little Mermaid. Again, this is really tough because I'm a huge Robin Williams fan. I mean, this one is not easy, but I did go with The Little Mermaid.
Wow.
I just think that The Little Mermaid in itself, I could relate to it a little bit more. So it's moving up. And then Zootopia versus Beauty and the Beast.
Sorry.
For a lot of reasons, I went with Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's an instant classic.
Yeah. So what about your next side?
All right, so I had Up versus Toy Story, and as much as I am an Up fan, sorry to break it to you, Up, Toy Story is moving on. I had Coco versus Toy Story 3, and as much as I'm a big Toy Story fan, I am moving Coco up to the next round. Toy Story 3 is being sent home.
I can see that.
I have Ratatouille versus Finding Nemo, and guys, here's your stunner for the bracket. Ratatouille is going to move past Finding Nemo. And then I had Cars versus WALL-E, and unfortunately for WALL-E, the no speaking will be the end of him, and Cars will move on to the next round.
I could see those. I think that's a good choice for that side of the bracket. I think you had some really tough ones to pick from, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so for basically the final four on my side, Lion King versus Frozen. Are you ready for this? Lion King.
Thank goodness.
Okay.
Send that chick home. She's done.
Lion King. Quite simple. Let's face it. I think there's something to be said about a movie that has stood the test of time versus a movie that has just been I won't say overly popular in a negative manner, but has been extraordinarily popular. The Little Mermaid versus Beauty and the Beast. This is really tough. I got to be honest. I sat there and I thought for about 5 minutes in this one. And Danny's really sitting there wondering, okay, what's he going to pick? What's he going to pick? What's he going to pick? The Little Mermaid moves forward. I just think that there's something.
Tough one.
It was tough. And the thing is, I'm going to pick between two classics. I'm going to pick Ariel every time. Sorry.
Can we just give a round of applause for Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, I will say.
Gentlemen, solid run.
Yeah.
Solid run. I'm content with that. All right, so on my end, and we're in the Elite 8 right now, so my 4 on my side would be Toy Story versus Coco. And listen, Coco's just too new. You're not bringing down a powerhouse like Toy Story. Toy Story will move on.
Yep.
Ratatouille advanced, and they were going against Cars, and once again I am shocking the world. Ratatouille is going to advance past Cars. It's a solid movie, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you, go back and watch it. It is a solid movie. So our final 4 as stands, we have Toy Story going head-to-head with Ratatouille on Uncle Danny's side, and The Lion King going head-to-head with Little Mermaid on Mr. Chris's side. So, Chris, who are you sending to your championship?
Wow. Okay, so I'd like to think that people can really see where this is going. Now, y'all know Little Mermaid is one of my favorites, but I am sending The Lion King to the championship. I am sending the Lion King to the championship because let's face it, just can't wait to be king. And that is, I think, just not only is it the logical choice, but I think this is actually a really good bracket. And I think that all these movies have got something to stand on. But let's face it, there is a lot to be said about Lion King. And The Little Mermaid obviously is a fantastic film. I may just watch it this weekend just because. But Lion King's going to the championship.
So I have the notorious Toy Story going against the very big underdog in Ratatouille. And unfortunately, Ratatouille might have slipped in a pot of soup this time around because Toy Story, I mean, come on, if I'm nothing but predictable, you knew Toy Story was making it all the way out of my bracket. You don't have a giant Buzz Lightyear tattoo and not vote for Toy Story to win it all. So this is how it's going to go. Chris voted Lion King. I voted Toy Story. We're going to put it out there at a poll. And by Thursday show, we're going to close it. We're going to open. We'll put the poll out tonight. We'll keep it open literally till 9:40 p.m. on Thursday night. And we will tally it up and we will announce who the winner is. Now, when you do your poll, make sure you do it. I'll set it up where you can only click once. So don't even worry about that. Just do your thing. Vote for who you want. Either Toy Story or Animal King. Animal Kingdom. Lion King. And you know what? When you guys click on who you think is won, comment in the section. Okay, so make your poll selection, then comment who you would have had in your finals. And let's see what some crazy ones we can get going there.
Yeah, this is actually I had a heck of a lot of fun with this, dude, and I know there are some other shows that are doing like the attraction version of this, and I'll be really honest, we might have to do that again sometime in the near future. But I really super enjoyed this. Movies is a big thing of mine. I'm a huge movie buff, and this has just been a whole lot of fun. So I can't wait to start our Thursday show with the announcement, viewer's choice, as to who wins this and who's gone all the way. So go ahead and vote when it comes out and let us know what's going on.
So, Chris, any final words? And remember, like we said in the beginning of the show, guys, just hang out after we do our spiel. We got something to tell you guys that we're gonna do off air. Just stay here. But any final parting words for anybody?
I'm good. I am just really glad to be here, and thanks everybody for joining us tonight.
My final parting words is if you don't for Toy Story, you're not my true friend, and we can no longer have lunch together. With that being said, don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. Facebook is Behind the Ears Podcast, Instagram Behind the Ears Podcast, and Twitter Behind the Ears PC. Trisha will kill me if I don't mention it, so please join the WDW community over on Facebook. Don't forget you can subscribe and watch all our shows also over on YouTube at Behind the Ears Podcast. And don't forget, lastly, from my end, please and thank you, will you head over to iTunes and rate and review the show. We are back up there. So anybody who was watching our old shows and was wondering what happened, we are back. We are putting out as many shows as we can to catch back up. So with that being said, everybody, thank you all for joining us here on another episode of Behind the Ears Podcast. I am Uncle Danny. This was an absolute blast. So don't forget, tuck your kids in at night, wear your seatbelt, and of course, while you're drinking that cranberry juice, click that little button and click for Toy Story. I am Uncle Danny. I'm signing out.
And I'm Mr. Chris Lion King. And by all means, thank you so much for being with us, Lion King. And I'll stop that.
Subliminal messaging.
It's a little messaging, Lion King. And by all means, just go ahead and subscribe to Lion King. And subscribe to the show so you can get it all when it comes out. Listen, I actually am using the Podbean app, and I'll be honest with you, it's really cool because I have been getting my shows as soon as Danny's been publishing them. An alert comes up on my phone to let me know it is there. That is something that I think is really super cool. And so go ahead and subscribe to the shows as well so you can go ahead and get it right when it comes out. Hey, don't forget, you can also listen to us on Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, using any Alexa-enabled device. You could also listen to us using Google Home Play, all those things. Go ahead, tell it, go find us there, subscribe, tell your device what you want to listen to, and it'll give it to you right away. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your support. And until we meet again, have an absolutely magical day. Take care.